question. All right, well, welcome. Hello, moms from wherever you are seeing us from. We hope you are well. Welcome to Moms Winning at Work, right? Because a lot of us viewing this are not only moms, but we are also charging in the workplace, trying to be moms too and hold it all together. And so we are two wonderfully blessed HR professionals who are also moms, who also have compassion and empathy for other moms who are working. And so we are trying to offer our HR expertise to you all. Always feel free to drop us a line. Let us know what questions you have. We are here as a free support system for you. My name is Cynthia Alfaro, one of the HR professionals, and my good friend is Tangela Reed. And first and foremost, Tangela, how are you doing this evening?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Your
good.
energy is always so invigorating.
Yes. Well, let's this whole thing started a couple years ago, really quick for everybody watching. We just feel once you're on this side of kind of like the table as an HR professional, I don't know about you, especially from where I'm from, I always felt like I have to tell people. I have to tell people and set us up for success, because so many years I was on the other side of the table feeling like, what is the code? Like, I don't,
Right.
what is the secret? So we're trying to be here as a complete resource to working moms, all women, a lot of great useful resources. We're going to try to keep it sweet and to the point. Today's topic is preparing for your performance review. And also managing seasonal stress. Anybody feel that? And does it resonate with anybody? We're going into that season of darkness, like sunset being at 4:30. What is happening? And
Right.
then but the days are still as long as they are. So I don't know how it makes sense. The math isn't mathing, as they say. But and then we have the holidays, all the things, moms. So let's get to it. Tangela, talk to me. You are in the full thick of it now and your job doing performance reviews, which you've done year over year.
Right.
Talk to me to prepare for performance reviews and how to be set up for success.
Yeah. So I think one of those like dark time blues
Yeah.
is preparing for your self-assessment. So, or your annual review. So when I think about the performance review, I think it can be exciting. It can be one of those things to, an opportunity for you to reflect, but it can also be very stressful. So the points that I'll give right now are just related to making the process easier. I always like to tell people that when you're getting feedback, this is a full process of getting feedback, whether it's self-reflection, you collecting feedback, or your manager, it's all a gift. So think about it in that way. This is your opportunity to grow. It's your opportunity to shine. So one of the first things I think it's important to do is just go back to the goals that were established. Like, what did you agree on with your manager? What did you agree on for yourself for this year? And then reflect on your achievements. So think about all the great things that you've done. Hopefully, if you've seen some of our other sessions, you've been keeping track of what you've done throughout the year, and you don't have to do what I did and go through all of your emails and some of your notes and all these things to kind of figure it out. But list out your achievements, list out your contributions since your last review. Be very specific about your projects. So the things that you worked on, the goals you achieved, and talk about the impact. So similar to what I coach people on when they're looking for a job, you're thinking about your past employment, focus on like, what have you done to impact the group or the firm that you're working with, and quantify your results. So reviewing your previous feedback is a good idea. So look at what your manager has said in the past, think about promises you've made, and then outside of reflecting on your achievements, collect feedback from others. So different companies do it different ways. Like the firm that I work at now, we do a 360. So it's a part of like our cycle to just select people and request feedback. Not all companies do that, but I do think it's an important part of the process to just ask other people, like, how am I showing up? how did I do on that project? What did you think about these results? And get some balanced feedback. Don't only look for the kudos, but also look for those opportunities where you can develop and where you can grow. And then do a self-assessment. Think about objectively, think about how have I really done? What have I achieved? Where are my strengths really showing up? How can I address some of my weaknesses? Who do I need to help me address some of my weaknesses? Or am I outgrowing this role? Like, who do I need to sponsor me so that I can move into that next position? So those are some things to think about when you're doing your self-assessment. Now, I will say one point, and I actually have expressed this recently to someone I was speaking with. When you're doing your self-assessment, I think that it's one thing, you do your self-reflection. You don't want to write everything in your review, right? You might have some things that you've reflected on. I don't know about documenting everything that you're thinking about, right? Some things are just not, it's appropriate for a self-assessment if we didn't have things like bias that creep into these procedures, if we didn't have things like, people kind of focusing on specific points that you may write in your review and use it against you. This is when I say self-reflection and a self-assessment, the things that are truly developmental, where you think you will get support in changing and shifting, write those in there. The things that are, you may be behind, it may not be not relevant, it may not be visible to everyone else, but you want some development. I would say look to your sponsors, your mentors to help you through those things, but not necessarily put them in there. When you're doing your self-assessment, also just write down the trainings, the development that you've done. So if you've gone to conferences, if you attended any formal training, if you've maybe shadowed someone at your firm so that you could get a deeper understanding of your responsibilities or your role, then I would say put those things in there so that you can show your commitment to like your professional development. So that's the preparation. You're putting all the stuff together, one for self-reflection, but then you're actually going to have a conversation. So just thinking about what you will say to your manager. And I started with talking about what you actually write down and what you don't. But when you're speaking with your manager, you want to highlight your achievements, right? And it depends on how your process goes. So the current firm that I currently work with, we pretty much write everything down, and then our manager delivers a review to us. You may have an opportunity to have a conversation with your manager ahead of that, and then an evaluation is done. So it really depends on the firm and how the process goes, but just make sure you're prepared to kind of talk about your achievements outside of writing. Be prepared to be concise, be prepared to be specific, be prepared to give those highlights. And then the other side of that is thinking about challenges, those that may have been brought to your manager's attention, those you may have noticed yourself, whether you want to highlight them on your own or wait for them to be brought to your attention. Just be prepared to talk about them so that you're not caught off guard and then become defensive and potentially unprofessional. The last point I'll say is, again, the annual review can be stressful. So preparing for constructive criticism, I think, is something that you have to spend a little bit of time on, right? Because I've seen people just unravel when getting critical feedback. So make sure you are keeping an open mind. Consider the feedback a gift. So use this as an opportunity to learn. And if you're unclear about something, again, without getting defensive, ask for clarification. The very last point, and then so we can keep it brief, is think about follow-up. So you've prepared for your review with a self-assessment, you've collected feedback, you've had a discussion with a very open mind, you've prepared yourself for critical feedback, and then after the process, you'll probably get a rating. Hopefully there's some reward assigned to that. But then what do you do for next year? Incorporating your objectives for next year, not completely because you're still in the annual review process, but just thinking about what do you hope to accomplish next year? Is there anything that you have questions about as far as aligning yourself with the goals and strategic plan for the following year, but then making sure you follow up and implement the feedback that you've discussed. So that's my quick and dirty.
Yeah, that's good though. So let me repeat back in so that I understand. So we're taking a snapshot where I was supposed to go this year versus where I actually went, like collect
Right.
the data, like come back to the goals. And yes, we're saying optimally, you all, you should have had goals at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
We know sometimes people don't have goals, right? I hold people and the system accountable to have goals at the beginning of the year, because you don't want to necessarily get to the end of the year and all of a sudden be surprised that you didn't hit a mark that you never even knew about. So
Right.
get alignment on where the destination is at the beginning of every year, but that'll be on
Right.
the next episode. But you're at the end of the year and
Right.
you're going to I'm going to collect my information and kind of promote myself and market myself to say, hey, because let's be honest, a lot of times our managers even kind of forget like all the things
Absolutely.
that we've done. So I always felt like the onus is on the employee to really remember all the details. And we've spoke about it in other episodes, like weaving this into the weekly one-on-ones so that it's a habit of collecting all the goodness and
Yep.
then being able to share it at the end of the year, and then preparing our mind for feedback as a gift and understanding this is essentially, if all things were great, this is our coach that's going to tell us, if I can use a sports analogy really quick, like we're running the tapes back, we're looking at your unforced errors, your forced errors, we're looking at the data and saying, okay, player, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and where do we want to get you for this next season? And essentially that's how it should kind of flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And we should have also, I love your point about external, like inviting in other stakeholders or collaborators on feedback
Mm-hmm.
and impact, because you're right. I feel like we have to become this billboard for ourselves a little bit of
Yep.
of showing what we've done, and then also lacing in where our aspirations are, right? Like how does this conversation help become the building block to where we want to be in next year, 3 years, whatever it is, and get it on paper, right? On
Yep.
documentation, like we're having this conversation to get me to where I want to go, X,
Yep.
Y, and Z.
Yep. I agree with that. I mean, we're not talking about like managing your career, but I think we mentioned after projects, just
Yeah.
ask for feedback then because it's at the
Yeah.
top of the person's mind. At the end of the year, when you're doing things like 360s, especially if it's a part of your firm's process, everyone's getting like an overwhelming number of requests.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
just, it's
true.
yeah, it's almost impossible to manage and to really be thoughtful. So if you can do that during the year when no one's thinking about the annual process,
Yeah.
you'll get someone to maybe spend a bit more time on your development. And then it also gives you an opportunity to develop before you get to the end of the year. So you can even brag on yourself about, how you collected this feedback after this project and then you implemented X so that you could improve
Yeah.
as you were kind of
I
going through
like
the
that.
process.
I
Yeah.
have a visual of, like, how they say give them their flowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like collect your flowers, your own flowers along
Yep.
the way throughout the year. Like go,
Yep.
hold on, let me grab that, put it in my bouquet so that at the end of the year, you have your own flowers to show, right? Your manager
Absolutely.
say, hey, look, here's what I've done. And I know it. I'm owning
Yep.
it. Now let's work together to get me to where I want to go.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, when I think about the annual process, I know I talked about it being like stress inducing at the
Yeah.
beginning. That was more, it's a crazy time. We're going into the end of the
Yeah.
year. We're excited about what's to come in the new year, but we have to
Yeah.
finish out this portion of the year strong. And when I think personally for myself about the annual process, for me, it's all about what can I do? How can like tell me what you see so that I can get a better understanding and just
Yeah.
continue my growth. So again, I can't say it enough. Feedback is absolutely a gift, whether you agree with it or not. Take it all in and use it for your development.
Yeah, and use it for your development. I forgot what I was going to say, but hopefully it's going to come back. Let me
Mhm.
transition us. Speaking of stress, it's a stressful season, you all. So let's acknowledge that and just commit to doing less. How about that? How
Mm.
about we just start saying no to things, allowing ourselves to say no to things, and saying, you know what? This is the season of slow down. You see the days ending early, right? Like, we need to end early. How about if we just slow down ourselves? So really taking the sun's cue and saying, okay, you know what? This is the season of do less. So let me slow down too. So that's tip like number 1 through 3, which is like do less, guilt free, and say no. Start saying no to things. No, you actually don't have to be at every event. Okay. On your weekends are for you to recharge, right? And to refresh and get ready for Monday. I love my weekends because I really don't have much planned other than just trying to recuperate and getting refreshed for Monday. So also what I want to say is, let me just follow my script here before I get off of it, but is to prioritize self-care. One of the biggest lessons I've learned since COVID is to prioritize myself. Now, many years I didn't have the luxury of being able to leave my kids at home and going to the gym by myself before the day started. But once I was able to, I realized that my resentment started to decrease. Once I said, you know what, I matter first and I become better for everyone else, for the world, right? When I can say, I've done the first hour of the day for me, it's just remarkable what a big difference that makes, because waiting for the end of the day for ourselves, we don't give ourselves our very best. So prioritizing self-care and understanding like the weight of that decision now in Q4 and through Q1 is like magnified. It's probably worth double in weight, right? To do that. So I I actually, am going to invite you all as you are listening to this to make 3 commitments on how are you going to ramp up your self-care strategy or regimen from now until spring. So for like the next 5 to 6 months, what are you going to do different and more for yourself as sort of your survival strategy to get through this season? And not saying that it has to be, I'm just saying it's going to be very important during this time. Let me also say time management skills are super helpful, and making a plan. So like right now, what do we have? 6 weeks left of the year. Being able to say, hey, what do I really need to do? Is it holiday gifts? All right, let me start making this list now. Matter of fact, start ordering this stuff now, right? So it's ahead of things. Also, meal planning, just doing something as simple as like every Monday it's going to be pasta, every Tuesday it's going to be tacos. Like I try to make it as so simple as possible, because I don't know about you, but by the time I get home from my day, sometimes I just do not have the energy to cook or prepare, but it is on me to figure it out, right? Because we can't do ramen every night, right? And we can't do White Castle sandwiches in the microwave every night, right? So just thinking about how can I be ahead or planful in those moments of like 5 minutes you have before something, like, okay, what's the setup? Try to think smarter about things. Let me see. And I will just say some tips and tools is just making sure you're asking for help as well. Delegate as many tasks as possible. I'm big on online shopping and ordering. I don't want to go to a store unless I really, really have to, because that saves me time, and it also saves me energy. I don't know. It takes a lot of energy for me to get somewhere sometimes. Like my body just says no, but ask for help. Delegate if you can, online everything if you can, meal prepping. And I think if you can, just try to be in your moments. If you're doing less, you can actually relish the now moments that you have with your kids, for their meltdowns, for their emotions, for all the things that usually, I don't know about you, stress me out when they come in the house with big feelings. But if we're doing less on all the other stuff and prioritizing our self-care, we can almost be in these moments with them and just hold space for them and understand that's really kind of at the end of the day all they need. Sometimes it's not even an answer or a solution. It's just like, that happen? I'm sorry. How did that make you feel? And job well done, mom. Job well done. And just some real quick tips. I sometimes recruit accountability partners around this time to help me get into the gym. I also use like light therapy lamps because we actually are going to be receiving like less vitamin D from the sun during the season. So if you're at home or even at your office, include light therapy lamps. Oils help for me. Not falling off on my therapy sessions help. And also making time to be social, right? Like even if it's virtually or calling somebody, now's a great season to just reconnect and stay connected to folks, because somehow, some way in the United States of America, we're dealing with this epidemic of loneliness, right? So one way to get ahead of that is just making the time and guilt-free time to just have a great conversation with someone who brings you joy, who can kind of bring you energy and encouragement. Anything to add, Tangela?
So I have two questions for you. One, light therapy lamps. Maybe you can tell us which light therapy lamps you use, because I think I don't know that I've heard of light therapy lamps. So I'd love to know more about that. And then same with aromatherapy, the oil brand, if you have one that you would recommend.
Yeah, I use Now. I
Okay.
think, yeah, NOW for oils usually. And then
Mm-hmm.
light therapy, anything on Amazon, really. I could probably include a link, but it's
Okay.
supposed to replicate like the sun,
Sunlight. Okay.
yeah, while you work. Because even like us not knowing it, it could affect our mood. And
Okay.
I even take vitamin D drops, especially
Mm-hmm.
right now during the season. Somebody told me that a long time ago, but it is the season of the blues for some of us, right? Seasonal
Yeah.
depression and stuff like that. So naming it, right? When you name it, you can tame it. That's what one of the things I learned from therapy. So naming it and just calling it out to say, oh, okay, this might be a hard season for me. So what's my strategy? And calling it out and just making it plain so that you can get the support you need to get through it. And that's okay. It is all okay. Anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
Okay. So just to recap, moms, you're going into performance appraisal season for most of us whose fiscal year ends on December 31st. It might be mid-year for some, but these principles still apply for when you are ending your fiscal year. Be brave, be prepared, and go the the phrase is escaping me right now, but definitely brag on yourself. You did a great job. Okay, so remix it, slice and dice it, and definitely remind your manager on why you're winning. Okay, and then at the same time, use our tips and tools to definitely sail through this season, because it's only a season and it's here to teach us and allow us to recoup and reflect and let go, right? Just like the trees are letting go of their leaves, we got to let go and prune some things too. So it's all okay. And we're going to make it.
I love that recap.
Yeah. Well, if we've missed anything, if you have any questions, drop us a message, put it in the comments. Remember to subscribe. Tangela, where can they find out more about you?
You can follow me at Talent Ready LLC on Instagram, and my website is www.talentreadyllc.com.
Yes. Okay. And you could always follow us on Moms Winning on all platforms. We will see you soon. Stay winning.
Bye.
Bye.